Good evening, folks. It is Wednesday, July 23rd. You're over the hump, and you are listening to the Empower Hour with me, Don Wyckoff. Now, if you didn't know, the purpose of this show is to teach people that they should never call while I'm on the radio. Is to teach people that it is certainly never too late, never too early to make positive life changes, to take a different path, connect to your passions, and live your life to the fullest while staying true to you. And I got to tell you, I'm staying true to me tonight. I had to play homage to Mr. Ozzy Osbourne. Oh, my word. I was so upset to see that. If you don't know, Ozzy Osbourne passed away yesterday, surrounded by family, surrounded by love. And after killing it 2.5 weeks ago on his final farewell show, it was absolutely amazing to see. And I can't think of a musician that has more of an incredible legacy in rock than Ozzy. So hats off to you, my brother up there, and jam on with Randy Rhoads. I love those two together. They were great. Now, joining me tonight, we are going to be talking about success when you step outside of the comfort zone, what that feels like, what it looks like, what's the inner talk that you have to have with yourself to get past that fear, that barrier that stops so many of us. With me tonight is fellow comedian, a brother from another mother, truly, and just an all-around great guy, Mr. Alex Riba. How you doing, buddy?
Good, Don. Great to see you. Thanks for having me on again.
Okay, absolutely. Now, we have had you on once before. We talked about some of the stuff that has stopped you in life. We talked about some of the insecurities. We can go through all this, but, you know, from going to different psychiatrists to try to help through these things. But ultimately, you began to do something totally counterintuitive for most folks going through social anxiety. You decided to find solace on the stage.
Yeah, I mean, when you're going through something like brutal depression, in an era, I was a teen in the 80s, and we did not have that term. We didn't know it was in any way related to medicine. I don't think I even knew the term neurotransmitter until I was 19 or 20, early 20s. The way I countered those horrible feelings was just making people laugh and learning to laugh. And
class clown.
Yeah, at times, on the days I wasn't depressed, sure. And sometimes it was the only way I could deal with a pain that I didn't understand what reason I could have for feeling that way.
Right.
You know, so if I could laugh if everybody around me was laughing, that would make me feel better. If everybody was laughing, even if it was at some silly, meaningless, didn't have to be a deep joke, could just be a goofball thing.
Yeah.
When everybody around you is having a good time, that becomes kind of infectious.
Well, it's the affirmation to you that you mattered in that little social environment. We're all struggling to try to fit in. I did the same thing, totally class clowned it. Had no confidence in my own education background. I was constantly told I had something wrong with the ADHD going on. And I mean, this was a true diagnosis, not just somebody like absent-minded saying, I got ADHD. Yeah. It's been a problem. Yeah. You know? And, but what I've learned over my life is that ADHD for me has been a superpower. For you, I'm starting to realize that I think, dude, your gift, when I watch you on stage, I see the energy of unsuredness. I see all of the things that you're talking about within your set, but in reality, and people love it. They absolutely love it because you're honest with that. But what I wanted to point out is that, you know, we're all trying to fit in. We always are. Class clowns were always like, well, Robin Williams would tell you he was a class clown. Jim Carrey, another one. Right. Some insecurity drove that. Some insecurity is the reason why.
Oh, it was absolutely insecurity. Right. I mean, like one of the medical symptoms of depression is feelings of worthlessness. When your brain is telling you you're a zero, everybody around you is somehow at this normal level. Yeah. And you need to do something to give you some value. And if people are laughing, you know, I remember spending more probably in the lunchroom than in the class when I was sitting at tables where I knew at least they were my friends already, so I had them a little bit. And when they were laughing the whole time, I couldn't. How could things be sad if everybody's having a great time? And clearly, whatever voice is trying to tell me nobody likes you, you're this deep demon from a dark cave that no one will ever venture to. Well, clearly that's not true because they can't even talk right now because I made them laugh for 15 seconds.
Right, yeah. And that's a gift that you've learned, and that's a compensatory strategy to navigate that unsure world of youth coming up with all the hormones and all that stuff passing out. Now, that's the stuff I'm saying, though, with, like, we were talking about on the way down, man, Robin Williams, brilliant comedian, and I never knew he was depressed. Gary Gulman, another one we were talking about.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
His Great Depressed special. And I was telling you how, like, Conan O'Brien, who's just brilliant and wacky and seems to bring humor and cheer to every conversation and every podcast he does, describes himself as a high-functioning depressive. And there is something about having a nagging voice of despair that says, oh, yeah, makes me say, oh, yeah, I'm going to prove otherwise. I'm going to prove that this moment is a good moment and there's something fun to be had or to feel grateful for or to enjoy, or just to laugh at and have the joy of being able to laugh at it.
I wonder how long it takes to cultivate that understanding, that self-reliance on your abilities to be able to push past, because this is what I've always said on the show, and I think sometimes because I've done things this way my life, it's hard for me not to see it as an easy path. Why doesn't everybody do it? It's just it's simple, and it is life-changing when you realize, you know, all the fears you've had go away once you're on the stage. Once you're actually taking hold of that microphone and you're beating that demon, the fears get less and less and less over time as you become more comfortable in the realization that people do like you, but they, more importantly, respond to the material that you're doing because they can so relate to it. We all, people, everybody listening right now, you know you have been to the point of despair where you just can't find a way out. You can't, life is a burden. It's overwhelming. You're strapped. Every life circumstance is all coming at once. You're just curled up on the couch. We've all been there.
Can I retell one of the jokes I did at that comedy festival in Stanford? It goes like, things have gotten so bad with those feelings of depression in this country that they've gone past therapy and meds. It's called fecal microbiota transplants. They transport like the poop from people with depression, and it's based on some idea of healthy gut bacteria and how it influences your mood. But the idea is you transplant that poop from the healthy person to the poop to the body of the gut of the depressed person. It's going to influence them, and then they got to the point where they put it into pills.
It's going to influence them, all right.
And then they give them like these poop pills that you swallow, and in order to get to be healthy. So the joke is that you may go to a psychiatrist and actually open up about what you've been going through and say, like, every day I just feel despair. I don't have the energy to go on. I'm starting to have suicidal thoughts. That it's that possible that the psychiatrist is going to look in the eyes and say, eat shit. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, that's basically what they're trying to say, right?
Right.
I mean, I know there is actually medical stuff. You were being serious about that in that joke, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's I did research for that. They use it's for a bacterium called C. difficile.
That's crazy.
That's how, endemic or systemic or whatever adjective I should be using there, that level of depression is getting, where they're doing transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is using an electromagnet to stimulate the parts of the brain that affect your mood. They're going that far. That's kind of where we are with that kind of severe mood disorder.
When a lot of what we're doing, we just talked about one of Mark Twain's. Well, it's it was attributed to him that in my life I've had many problems, most of which never happened.
Right.
How we all have this earthly analytical brain that takes our understanding of everything we know, and we run it through our systems. And if you're one of those people that are negative, you're going to keep seeing these negative results come back. Anyways, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the more we're focusing on these problems, the more we're experiencing them on a chemical level. The cortisol we were talking about shooting through us and all that kind of stuff. So that fear, like you said earlier, is wasted energy, but it's also literally hurting your body because it's releasing cortisol. I wish we could all get to the point that I'm starting to realize myself, and I'm starting to see in you, is that realization that forward movement is excelled after you do something that steps outside of the comfort zone. You can write the set. You can think of the jokes. You can send them to me. But until you step on that stage, you're truly not outside of your comfort zone to the point of being judged. I want to get to what is that experience like, and I'm going to just use that one example of what happened. Alex and I just did a show, a month ago at the Foothills Performing Arts Center. And I literally called this dude on a whim, and I was just like, you know what? It would be great to have Alex come down. He's killing it. So why don't I just give him a jingle? And you said yes. And you came down, and what happened?
It was, I hate to use the word crushed. That was what you and Jimmy said, and I'm grateful for that. It just kind of flowed. I had just done the comedy festival in Stamford, and it happened to be a great crowd. They seemed to really want to laugh and have a good time, and it felt fantastic. It felt like a well-rehearsed show that went off exactly the way I wanted it to go.
Yeah, and it did. But what I want to get you to is to the point where when you first came in.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's what I want you guys to hear. Yeah. This is what I want you to hear, folks. When Alex and I talked before, we talked about everything we just talked about. Mental health has been a part of our story, blah, 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 how we got through it, and pushing outside of the comfort zone. I asked Alex, and he said immediately, yeah, dude, I'm definitely going to do that. And he gets down there, and what were you feeling when you got in there?
That I was not in the right headspace, that this was going to be a catastrophe, that I was just going to crash and burn in front of everybody. And you quite
literally said, I don't think I can do this tonight.
Yeah, probably exactly those words.
Right. So I, of course, give my little pep talk of how awesome you are. I think you're fantastic. I love your nervous energy that you bring out there that makes us all resonate with you. But what was the conversation you had to have? What was
that my good friend Don, who's talented and has good taste and has watched me do this and cares about me and is not a fluffhead, seems to believe in me, and his reputation's on the line. He's hosting this thing, and
So you would say it was trust?
Yeah, sure.
What did it? Because, I mean, like you were telling me a time when it wasn't with me anywhere near it, but this, I'm trying to get what out of you, the conversations that I know what conversations I've had to have.
Having in my head?
Yeah, with how do I reverse this feeling of negativity and turn this into energy for my show?
I mean, I think often it comes down to that minute where some voice in me says, would you rather regret having done it and failed, or would you rather have regretted and not doing it at all? And
Absolutely.
When I get to that moment, you're right. I mean, I quickly mull over what's the worst that can happen in like 3 seconds before I think too much, and then think too much about what's the worst that could happen. And then, and I say, well, okay, that's the wager, I'll take it. I'd rather look back and say I actually tried.
So that ties into what we were talking about earlier about how the wasted energy of the frustration, the anxiety, all that anxious feelings, all the cortisol shooting through our bodies. I guess that's what I mean by, once you have that release of actually stepping outside of yourself, it pushes endorphins and dopamine and all these happy chemicals of accomplishment that move you on. Because what I think you both of us realized that night, for you had to overcome that to get out there, and then you killed. For me, I was telling the story a couple of weeks back on the show about how I always mentally prepare how my show is going to be. I know how many steps to the stage, at the cue of the music, all this.
Yeah.
And then I had that failure in the thing, and it was horrible. Not to everybody else, but to me, it was despicable.
You were devastated.
I was devastated.
In fact, I spoke to Jeff Doyle about doing another show with you, and he said, I don't think Don's going to be wanting to do any show in the near future. He was so, I'm going to leave him alone for a while.
Yeah. I was upset because the mic, if you don't know, folks, like I said, I go through this whole anal thing, but it's for me mental preparedness. It's me seeing, because the secret of all success in life and all the things that we accomplish is in our imaginations. And so when I go in and I see the show I literally will sit in the audience. Like when I did the Tom Green show, I sat in the audience days before that to see where I'm going to be on the stage. What do I look like? What's my size? How do I all that? I had to see that and then see it as them liking it.
Yeah.
I brought that energy out on the stage, and it worked. But when I tried that at that show and it failed, it was because the battery fell out of the mic.
Yeah.
And it just totally killed the energy. And I like an amateur, I completely choked. I got through my jokes. They didn't have the energy. They didn't have the setup energy. And to me, it was horrible. So this show, I'm encouraging you, and you get out there and kill it. But as soon as I go out to do mine, it's like the same thing happened, except the battery didn't fall out. It was just off. I'm literally having to tap the mic and point to the dude after I just came out there rocking to that tune. And, and again, energy was killed. But I remembered what we talked about. And I remembered having experienced or talked to you about that experience. And then I remembered talking to King Kanye. Same thing. And he was just like, hey, man, at least you had that experience because it's what builds the texture in us, right?
Yeah.
And that's something I totally groove with anyways. And it did. And I was able to maneuver that and have a good set. So I think we both killed 2 demons that night. And I did not want to lose the opportunity to share what kind of mental stuff this has had. And the question that I have for you right now is, how would you say stepping outside of your comfort zone and following what are true passions to you, how would you say that has been in relation to mental health? How do you feel that's been working to help it? Take your time with that. Unwrap it. It's like an onion.
I look at challenges differently now. I look back on I thought about the comedy that I could never do that. I could never be the kind of person that stays up there for 5, 10, 15 minutes and has to risk being heckled. But I know I've done it. So maybe this new challenge is kind of in that same basket. And this isn't the part of my brain that says, nope, this is an impossibility. That's the part of my brain experiencing the same anxiety I did last time. But it turns out it wasn't an accurate judge of what I'm capable of. It's just a bunch of fears hitting me all at once. And that's a new way of looking.
It's quite literally uncertainty shaped by energy.
Yeah.
And that is filtered through your past experiences. And so, but what I'm loving is that I've watched you succeed multiple times through the anxiety, come out the other side like a weight was just pulled off your entire skeletal system. You're so much lighter and brighter and open to people. And I feel like it's opened you up in a more positive, just my outward perspective. I don't know if it resonates with you, but you seem to be more approachable,
Thank you.
Conversational, and just, it's like doing the comedy and airing out your own anxieties and nervousness has allowed you to be that person that you were afraid to be before because you were judging yourself on social normality and conformity.
I mean, one of the first open mics I did, shout out to the Belvedere in Stamford, New York.
Oh, yeah.
I talked about one of the 3 times I was in a psychiatric hospital. And those were things I thought I would have to keep secret the rest of my life, lest be judged, whatever. And then once we got past the awkwardness, people were laughing, and I was like, okay, I can be the true story that I am, and be accepted.
And that's true acceptance,
That's and not have to hold anything back.
That's right. And I used to talk to myself, and I had somebody tell me, Don, have you ever paid for a show that you wanted to see the person fail? I was like, no. He's like, that's the mindset of your crowd. Your crowd didn't come to see you fail, and what we focus on, we see, right? So if we focus on this guy's going to be funny, we're already prepped to laugh, right? You just delivering what they love.
Yeah.
And so when I started to get that mental picture in my head, it helped me to realize, and that is why I make the habit of sitting out in the Performing Arts Center, in this, you know what I mean, in the seating area to get perspective of what will they see. Like I had to see it from that angle.
Yeah.
Anyways, so my imagery in my brain was that, and that's what I've used my entire life, is carrying in the energy that I believe I need to sell what I'm selling. We're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We were talking before about that first public open mic I ever did. The first technical open mic I did was, I was at the last minute invited to an online, like Zoom open mic from a friend of mine on Long Island. But the first in person was at a bar, the Black Oak in Oneonta. And I showed up like 3 or 4 times with my jokes written in my hand and made excuses not to go up. And
what were your excuses?
Some of it may have been all or nothing thinking, if you want to get into a little CBT, a little cognitive behavioral therapy, that if this doesn't crush, I don't want to do it. Some of it was just these movies playing out before I could get off the bar stool of, here's the horror movie of how it's just going to be, heck, you're in a bar, people are drinking, you know, they may call you all sorts of names, and it was just like the movie was so powerful that it overpowered the momentum to get me off my bar stool.
Right.
So some of it was probably like narcissism. I don't want to do this unless I can be the best. And then some of it was like, I can just imagine my worst social nightmare happening. And I befriended a rapper there who's pretty regular named Charlie, and he just kept encouraging me. And with his help and a little bit of ethanol, I got up there and I did a quick set, and the college students that were sent down from the campus to run the sound system, one of them kind of like smiled and like genuinely and said, tight. And that was kind of what said, oh, okay, well, certainly this wasn't a catastrophe. So the fear level that this was going to be like some horrible thing and someone was going to record it and post it on every social media network, that didn't happen. And even it was a little bit positive. And even if it wasn't the fantasy come true of like, you have your fantasy when you try this of the thing you really want to happen, of like, they're going to be talking about me forever.
Yeah, right.
And you realize,
Can I get your autograph?
Yeah. And you realize, oh, it's not that, but it was actually kind of nice. And so that just kind of recalibrates your expectations and your almost like your danger sensor to like, all right, you know, it maybe not be either or. I mean, I'm probably not, unless I'm just a natural born Robin Williams or something, going to automatically be discovered tonight and be made famous, but it doesn't necessarily have to mean that this is going to be the thing that breaks me and make it too unpleasant.
Right. So that's how you get in your way. And I want to talk about for a second, we all look at changing the chemical structure of our brains to treat mental health. Two things that are homeopathic that I want to talk about. Sure. One is the validation. When we validate somebody, we know oxytocin is released.
Right.
That is the bonding chemical.
Yes,
That's responsible for relationships and trust building.
It's a great chemical.
It's a great chemical.
It's a fantastic chemical.
And when you feel validated, you feel all those chemicals in a way that you now feel safe.
Right.
Right. So the point I want to make for the listeners, when you are validated, you can look this up. Just look up what chemicals happen when you're validated. You'll find it. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, they're all released in your body, but the oxytocin is the one that builds the trust. And that is the chemical that when that's happening, you want to remember that moment. That's why after we got done with that show, I had you do a video with me. Mm-hmm. And
right.
Just so you have something to look back, because you remember the horrors that you go through, but it's rare that we remember the steps.
You saying like, okay, remember, we just came off the stage. What happened tonight, Alex?
That's right.
How did it go?
That's right. And we killed it. We did great. And but we both, that was for me as well.
Right.
Because that battery thing happened again. Or no, it was the battery thing. They just didn't have it on. But either way, it was a mic thing. And it was like, this is what I was telling Mama Reeps. It's like, these things that I have feared my whole life are required for me to get to the point of this expectation I have for myself in my brain. Most of us fight that. We have an expectation, or we're calibrating with social normality, and that's the way we look at ourselves. So we secretly hold this idea about ourselves, and we live within that idea. We want to be seen as such and such, but so rarely do we step outside of the box to be in the environment of such and such that it never happens, which builds more anxiety, more cortisol shooting through the body. So when we're in this world of changing our chemical structures in our brains, realize, folks, there are ways to do it right now by just stepping outside your comfort zone. And that could be as simple as walking into a store you wouldn't normally walk into, having a conversation with somebody you would normally duck. You'd never know. The nudgings, the synchronicities that have happened in my life, I know are on purpose. I don't care what I sound like. I know for me, they happen on purpose. There's a reason that this is happening. So I don't care who it is. If I run into them and there's some weird connection that I have to talk to them because there's a reason.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to see that person again. There's a reason. And I've never had that go wrong. So anyways, we can release those chemicals when we're in moments where we can be validated. And those moments only come from when you've pushed outside of yourself and you get that pat on the back. Because here's the secret about you and I, is that we barely really look at from the performer's aspect. We spend more time analyzing from the crowd perspective of, am I going to bully this guy? I can make a million jokes about the way he looks, the way he talks, the way he acts, right? So we set up, like you said, that movie, and we're watching that movie more vividly than the real life we're living.
Right. And
when you spend your energy there, that's the problem. So the second one, do you know what is found in, do you believe you probably know this, that there are fatty acids, lipids, and antioxidants found in soil that through absorption of the skin have an effect on our serotonin level. Literally playing in the dirt. That's why they always said gardening was great for the mind. For me, it's metal detecting.
I did not know that. It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so we should look this up, folks, because there are, if you don't believe me, just look it up, health benefits of playing in soil. On top of the microbial exposure that helps build the immune system, it's actually inducing serotonin to increase in the thing just because of our connection with the energy of the earth and the soil and the minerals and all that stuff that gets absorbed through the sweat glands. So, dude, and the reason I'm so schooled on that one is because I always needed a reason to show my wife or my girl why I have to go metal detecting. This isn't about.
I know you love metal
me.
detecting, man.
This is about you. Me being calm around you.
All right.
Yeah. So would you say? Do you notice the chemicals as they're happening? It's not just the pat on the back. Do you feel the chemicals? Do you remember what that? Feels like?
It's an energizing. It feels like a healthy energy boost. It's like it's composed to. Chugging an espresso or something.
Right, but you do feel it, and that's what I mean. It's an absolute energy of feeling.
Absolutely. And I'm going to steal a word from my therapist. And yet you experience that, the term is tachypsychia. It's when time seems to pass at a different speed from you. Mm-hmm. And she talks about it. She's a Marine, and what it was like in the battle when like in the heat of the battle in time.
Yeah, time.
So it's the same thing when, when I did the Hills People Comedy Fest, up until that last moment, I'm having a million anxieties. And then just the minute I got up there, it was such a wonderful crowd. They really
got the first laugh.
And then it was just like time sped up and, it was just...
and then it was over before you knew it.
It was over before I knew it, but in a good way. Like a fast, fun ride skiing down a mountain.
Yeah, buddy. And you literally carry your frame of your body lighter when I watch you come off the stage after that.
Yeah.
And that is a beautiful thing because I'm always trying to say there's shortcuts, man. Everything in my life has been about shortcuts. I have a GED. I've never went to communications school. I never went to film. I never went to comedy classes. I never went to any of those things, yet I'm able to enter into professional level opportunities with elementary training.
Right.
I mean, official training. You know what I mean?
Right.
Of course, I self-directed learning and, I'm always doing that kind of stuff, but my point for everybody that I try to make is that you didn't grow up practicing to be a comedian. I mean, you always thought
in a way I did. I mean,
you kind of dreamt it. You played, me too, class clown. But I never really put myself in the idea that I could be a comedian.
Right. Yeah.
I may have played with the idea, but I never committed in any way. So that's what I'm saying. Once we attach to what we are passionate about, I think that's tied intricately to what you're on this earth to do. Because we each have a different passion set, you know what I mean? And those passions, when a person's passionate about it, it tends to complement humanity when we each embrace each other's passions. Learning from someone that's passionate is way more fun to learn than a dry person, right? Tell you the same material, but the person that's passionate about it is just so much better at teaching it. That's why we all have a favorite teacher, right? So that's what I'm trying to get people that are listening to realize, that we have all, even those of us that may look like we're successful and we're always happy and we're always Mr. Motivation, I often am talking to you about my fears and my own things. And like you said, will you give that parable again?
Oh, yeah, about, I believe it's an old, either Yiddish or historically Jewish parable about, I think it's Jewish, about a man who wants to know what heaven and hell are like. And he's taken by some possibly heavenly force first to be shown a vision of hell. And it's a bunch of people at a very well stocked banquet hall with delicious food on the table, and all these giant sticks stuck to their fingers so they can't reach the food and feed themselves this delicious food that's inches from their face. And then the man is brought up to heaven, and it's the exact same scene with the exact same food and the exact same sticks on people's fingers, except the difference is they're feeding each other across the table, and so they're able to enjoy the riches of the feast that's in front of them.
Yeah, so that's so heavy, man. We need each other, man.
Yeah.
I mean, humanity needs each other. And when I think you and I have talked about it, a lot of our fears and concerns in life with our own stuff that we deal with, anxiety-wise, has been shaped by what we were brought up on televisions, radios, TVs.
Like the one-man army, like in...
Yeah, the social normality.
Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando, just like a one-man army who can take it on all by himself, doesn't need anybody to help him.
Yeah. But I mean, what got us in that shell was comparing ourselves to the Joneses and then calibrating where we fit in through our own self-analysis of how we believe. Never are we stepping outside of ourselves. I mean, I don't want to say never, but when you do, you start to realize that, wow, I may be seeing things different. Because like you said, you didn't think, you're as funny, and you got guys saying, dude, if I didn't know you, I would have thought you were a professional comedian. Which, by the way, you are. You got paid.
Technically. I got that technicality. Yeah, I mean... Do you mind if I change the topic slightly?
Yeah,
I'd like to
man.
talk about the medicinal value of laughter. And
exactly.
Part of this is, I've said for years, I think the social impact of not being able to talk about depression and anxiety and anything clinical as far as mental health is concerned, just because that's the era I was growing up in, was far more devastating than the actual symptoms of the So, if it had been anything else... I've joked in the past that if I had found a tumor in my testicles, I would have been freaked out as a teenage boy. I know I would have been freaked the hell out, but I wouldn't have hesitated a second running to my parents, begging them to take me immediately to a doctor, get this checked out. Wouldn't have, for a nanosecond, I wouldn't have hesitated. But with the mental health stuff I did, and so a lot of this is just about what sometimes art and what sometimes comedy does. Here's something that is often difficult to talk about or isn't spoken about enough, so let's make it digestible and pleasant and have a good time talking about this thing that's otherwise not pleasant to talk about. And like you said, there is an actual medicinal value to laughter itself. It does release oxytocin, which is kind of counters your stress levels. And laughter kind of... historically, I'm learning in a great book called Be Funny or Die by Joel Morris. He gets into the evolutionary value of laughter,
communal,
in your tribe, so to speak, where you're building attention of where is he going with this, or is he actually racist? And then suddenly he tells a joke, and you realize, oh no, it's a play on words, and then everybody, oh god, and that laughter is like that. It's that tension and release, and historically. According to Morris, it's a signal to the tribe, hey, everything's okay.
Yeah.
So it's like this constant, we're going to practice dealing with possible things that could go wrong, but at the end, you're going to know this was just a fire drill, and we're all going to laugh, and we're going to get this boost to this pleasure drug.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, as a side effect of making us all feel connected, so the tribe is going to be closer together.
That's right.
Socially.
Well, that's quite literally what happens. I mean, you just broke down the science of the evolution of why comedy clubs exist. You build you're taking them for the ride on the roller coaster, man.
You're talking about the stuff
We're all on the same ride.
If someone wanted to talk about some party they went to last night and got wild at work, or something that wouldn't be inappropriate, the kind of stuff that's normal to think and feel during the day, but you have to stuff it in order to function socially in the workplace.
Yeah.
Being able to see a comic say he's going to talk about the taboo stuff or the stuff you're not permitted to speak or risk social consequences of during the day, that's where that release comes from.
That's right. Well, that's where the tension is building, because we all communally understand that this subject, let's just say LGBTQ, plus the stuff, boy, it immediately makes people pucker right up
you feel
in the
like
chair,
the hairs go up on the back of your neck, like, oh, what's going to happen?
And that's what I love. I love tension. I love creating tension because I know what the release is going to do to them. And it's like I have a peek into what's about to happen, and that's what's so fun as a performer. But as a audience member, you're right. It's a very primal connection between tribes. Before there was even spoken language, there were people doing physical humor that were tripping over someone and everybody laughed, like the guy that walks into the glass door.
Right.
You know? And we all come together with that because, like you said, too, Oxycontin. That'll make us come together, too, but we're going to have a dependency. But, yeah, the oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine that's released is the best medicine in the planet, in my opinion, for you, because it's also constantly reinforcing that, okay, man, I gotta stop watching this stupid movie every time I want to do something.
Yeah.
You know, because that proverbial movie, the horror scenes that you're watching, it again reminds me of that saying, where energy goes or attention goes, energy flows. So this is recently, like you said, I had a lot on my plate. And I don't need to waste any time to go through it. Just know that I, like you folks, have a lot on my plate, and I can get absolutely devastated, overwhelmed, to the point where I don't want to pick my phone up because the phone represents some other decision I have to make or a commitment of my time. And I'm absolutely overwhelmed trying to deal with my problems. When I don't have my problems, I can't wait to engage, right? But you know, because you see the silence happen sometimes, and you'll reach out to me. And what a difference that makes. But what we're getting at here, folks, is that the whole purpose of what we've been talking about this entire evening is that even as people that, if you were to come and see us perform, you may think we've got it together. We've got life figured out. We got it by the butt. We do not. We battle the same things. We go through the same things. And I hope you will see and trust through my candidness and your own, sharing what you've shared with me so far, Alex, that people will trust to just try it. Just do it. Just go for it. If you got that dream, just try it. You're never too old. I open this show all the time that it is never too late, and it's certainly never too early to make positive life changes. Take a different path and connect to your passions. Because from an outward perspective, Alex, this is what I was saying to you on the ride. I see a guy that now 5 years later from, I think, when we first really started hanging out and talking, the change is immeasurable, man. Your self-esteem, but not only your self-esteem, but your ability to let yourself be you and have that be okay, knowing that we get it, that others get it. And I think that's provided a lot of release for you to make it so that you're out all the time. You're out more than I am.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, that's not to pat you on the back, but I wanted you to have this story so folks could hear. They've understand because they feel it, but it's seeing it in real life that helps encourage other people. So I hope, folks, if you're listening to this, you'll check it out. And Alex, you've got some stuff up on Facebook or YouTube or anywhere somebody can
right now, just
check
on
out
Facebook, Alexander Riba, R-I-B-A.
Please check out his comedy, folks. Hilarious and so relatable. Is that the only place you got it? Other than
right
what's
now,
about to happen?
Yeah. I've got some friends finally trying to usher me into the 21st century and helping me set up some of the other things the kids are doing these days.
Good. Okay, folks, I want to thank you for listening to WIOX Community Radio. You are listening to the Empower Hour on WIOX, 91.3 FM, MTC channel, cable channel 20 on the campus of SUNY Delhi at 107.5, and you can find us everywhere at WIOXradio.org. You can also find the Empower Hour on Facebook and Spotify and TikTok, and you can find me anywhere. Just poke in the Empower Hour, follow along. This episode will be up, and when I do put this episode up, I wanted to actually put the visual on. I didn't want you to just hear the comedy tonight, folks. I wanted you to be able to see Alex in action, and you'll get a better understanding of what I mean by carrying the nervous energy up on the stage and using it as a superpower. It's a lesson in letting go. Just by watching this, you will see what I mean, because you are sitting with the man right now, and you can know right now from the man that you'll be watching that he was horrified before he got on that stage. And we can all identify with that. I want you to see the end result.
My secrets.
I want them to see the end result, Alex, because afterwards, if I could have got video of you stepping off the stage any of the 3 times I've seen you perform, dude, you're physically lighter. The first thing you said is, I want to go downtown. Right? After we shot that video, you were like...
I still spend a lot of time, and maybe I'll get the answer in my lifetime. Why does the brain do that? And maybe this bigger answer is that I haven't thought of yet. Why, if someone like you or I succeeds, should I have that question again? It seems almost like the computer's not quite functioning right.
Well, I think, and this is what the barriers are for most of the listeners that actually listen to the show and go, hey, that's me. I think it's you're kind of lost on the fact that you were how old?
54.
54. You're the same age as me. For at least 25 years of my life, I was in that box that I talk about all the time. That's social conformity, normality, judging myself up against people, and here I am, an ex-con, been through all this crap. So, I didn't have a high self-esteem.
Right.
It was only through reaching out to what I'm passionate about. Not something that I'm fickly aware of that I think I might be able to do, like art. But I don't have a passion for art. But if I had a passion for art, I'm going to be awesome at it, because I'm going to surround myself with the people that are doing those things in the places that I want to be, right? It's a no-brainer. It's just so simple.
Right.
And most of us are still stuck in that this is where I live, this is what's available, this is what's possible, this is what I've seen my friends do, and we don't dream outside of that. In order to get to the point where you are purposefully putting endorphins and, all this stuff shooting through your body to treat yourself, you got to step outside of the box.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, it doesn't matter if it's art, it's comedy, you're a gardener, you secretly wanted a unicycle across the United States. It does not matter. Whatever that passion is, follow it, because you are going to connect with the people that are going to help you.
I would add it. Remember, it's okay to take small steps out of that box.
It is.
It doesn't have
absolutely.
to be enormous leaps. It's
just the fact that you walked into a bar that is an open mic, knowing that you might do it.
I'd even argue it's okay to take messy steps.
Yep.
And sloppy steps.
And it's okay to completely fall apart, because I did it.
Yeah.
I have done that. That has only happened to me one time in my life, and it was the biggest teaching moment. It was invaluable. And I would love the fact that the night that you were going through what you were going through, you overcame that I came out to this very same experience of the mic being off.
Yeah.
That was such a beautiful part. I mean, I'll listen to these episodes back, sometimes, and I'll remember, oh yeah, I told that story. I didn't know I told everybody that. And then I hear this story, and I realize again, this is why I videotaped that night for you and I, just to remember that this is what we went through.
That video.
You do, because that's what I think I have it on here, but I think I swore on it or something. But anyways,
I'd never do that on the radio.
Yeah, you know what? I might add that to the episode right at the end of the episode.
Okay.
And then we can show that piece.
Sweet. All right, sweet.
Yeah, because that really is the things that I talk about all the time, stacking and loading up for these days that are just unbelievable. I noticed that I was pulling away from music. I wasn't even listening to music. I was so wrapped in all the trauma and drama that you saw going through.
Can I tell you what Beatles line I think is one of the most apt artistic, just poetic descriptions of depression? It's from Your Blues, Beatles White, and there's that line, feels so suicidal, even hate my rock and roll.
Yeah.
Like that's like the fact that I'm John Lennon
I
could
totally
hate
get that.
rock and roll.
I can't even stand my own music.
That I think to someone who doesn't get it, that's a great way to communicate what it's like. It could be the guitar player for like the best band in rock and roll history and hate it for a while.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's a weird trip that this mind goes through.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate truth is, and without getting into a conspiracy kick, but do you think it's by happenstance that all education is is rudimentally trained on things. A lot of the stuff that we're trained in schools nowadays are so structured. Everybody's learning the same thing, the Common Core approach, right? Doesn't it make sense that we're trying to steer a populace into an ideal by shaping their beliefs from what's on TV, what's popular in commercials, all the trends, all these kind of things?
I don't know if you want to get me
that shapes
started
us.
on a whole debate about the American educational system.
I think it sucks. So I just that's what I want to say about it.
I mean, I've had some good experiences, but
I have, yeah.
But I mean, when my parents moved from New York City to Long Island, they did happen to choose a school with a very well-funded school department. I mean, educational community, and where I had fantastic science classes and math classes with like a good Mac computer lab in the 80s, which was unheard of back then.
Okay, yeah.
So I personally happen to have
a better experience,
and I got to. We had a well enough funded band, so I could learn to read music and be in a. There are things that should be basic, like mathematics and science. I don't know if this is what
those should be. Those should be. Right. Chemical or chemistry and understanding of that. Psychology is where we start to have a little more open air about. What I guess I'm getting at is we don't spend time in school teaching students to attach to what your passion is and apply all of these standards of education to what your passion is. But we need to encourage what these kids are passionate about, because as I've said, I don't care if it's somebody that whittles. You know what I mean? If they have a passion for that, they're going to be very good at teaching that. And that will encourage more art and more artists.
I agree.
To be more open and willing to step outside what would normally be their uncomfort is now comfortable, because they've been allowed to believe that they can attach to their passions and make something happen from it. Right now, we're so standardized in the way we teach and what we teach. There's not a lot of room for creativity or encouragement or problem solving, not just critical thinking skills, but a lot of the stuff that you and I are coming through right now, and this understanding of how these moments where we push outside ourselves can have a physiological effect that changes our mental health. Like, that stuff should be encouraged. That idea, challenging kids to not fit with the Joneses, be your own rainbow, be your own color, be your own thing, do your own thing. It needs to be more accepted. I get that because I spent more time teaching folks why to make things accessible in schools than to how. I had to talk. I think I told you this. I would go into the schools, and we did Through Children's Eyes, where we had students sitting in wheelchairs for an entire day, right? Blind.
I think I heard about
for an entire day. Yeah, and that was an experiential, based off the Dewey model of experiential learning. Yeah. But the whole idea was to give them the feelings, the frustrations, the segregation, that whole feeling of not belonging, so that it would spark some.
Empathy or compassion?
Empathy and compassion, but also to challenge them to think outside of the box, so when they get older. And it's like those kind of programs, there's not enough of that kind of stuff that would get us to the point of encouraging us, hey, Alex, your passion is to make people aware of mental health issues by using comedy. That's great. Let's support that. Let's give you, instead of your social study, or your, study hall, how about we take study hall away and gym class away from the guys who are clearly not interested in being athletes at any time in their lives, and give them those opportunities to earn credits based on their interest. So you go into a computer lab and you do self-directed learning and research regarding your passion, and then you give it like a little essay or something. Think about that. You're giving these kids the ability for years before they get out of school to really start to focus and think about what their passion is. Because conventionally, it's like you graduate school. Hey, when you go to college? It's already expected. When you go, and I don't even know what I want to be. Yeah. Just go to college. Go. You got to go. Get your associate's degree. 2 years. That.
My experience with that is a little bit different, only because by the time I was a senior in high school, not only had I finished all my science requirements, which chemistry and physics were my absolute favorite courses, I was experiencing the depression that just made me lose the passion for it. But I was expected to go to college anyway, so I did not know, like, why am I not interested? Why is my concentration poor? I guess I'll switch to music because college was expected. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't addressing, I've loved this stuff since I was 9 years old. What's going on? You know, the system expected that I just kind of move and go on to college. We're kind of running out of time. I didn't want to start a whole big thing.
No, that's okay. Finish your thought, man.
As far as allowing people to think outside the box, well, one great thing for that is maybe because my parents would bring me into places like Bayside, Queens, where my grandparents lived, where, you know, it was a highly, highly, highly diverse. So talk about outside the box.
Exposure was
when you
totally
have
different.
like a strip of like these 2-story apartments just slam next to each other, and there's, you know, 12 different families on the block, and they're all from different countries, and that's your childhood. You quickly start to not expect things to fall into any one category.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, again, what we were talking about earlier, like, I can only experience life through this perception system, this filter that I have in my head.
Right.
I assume that everybody filters it the same way, and that's why I'm let down when they don't.
Right.
Or
I definitely do that too. That's
Yeah.
when I'm most frustrated.
Yeah, so
Why
I love,
don't you think like me?
and this is what I mean. I love having conversations like this because we have to challenge the society's norm.
Right.
I appreciate that we're, you know, embracing the LGBTQ plus community and people to, you know, identify. What I don't care about any of that. I
think when you say norm, I think that there's so many norms. I don't think there's any one.
Again, perception. Yeah. So my what I'm seeing in my 55 years is that we are taught to always graduate, college, marry, kids, work the system, and then when you're at your age of senior, which has been the last 22 years of my life working with the Catskill Center, of watching society forget the people who built the community they are living in now, the people that kept that city going, and we forget them. That's the cycle that my experience has seen. So when I say the things I say, they're coming through that filter.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a lost opportunity, knowing that we can encourage this stepping outside of the box to improve mental health, to improve social, inclusion. You know, a lot of people stay home. They don't even go outside. They're afraid of what the Joneses are thinking of them. And like you said, you'd had these fears that were irrational. And when you got off the stage, they were telling you, dude, I would have thought you'd done this a million years.
Yeah.
Right? You can't see it. People like you folks. You just got to be yourself. Let the weirdness come out. Let the crazy come out. We can all identify it. You're not that special.
I'm in tremendous support of that.
Right.
Let your weird flag fly.
Yeah, you got to let your weird flag fly, because that's hard to say, and I did it. I'm proud of myself. Well, let the weird flag fly, folks. Just connect to the passions, whatever that is. Do not question it, and start to follow it. Try to integrate it into your day-to-day, and I promise you, your life is going to make connections that you could have never saw coming. Until next week, folks.